What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another YouTube video for any of you guys that are new here. My name is Levi. Today's video, I'm going to tell you guys how I implemented running into my lifting, because I, as a young kid, well, I shouldn't say kid, I was still a teenager at the time, was really stupid when it came to that. When I was 18, 19, I was making some of the dumbest mistakes ever, and I don't want anyone to repeat those mistakes. So I'm making this video because I'm at a point now in my life where I can balance both and, you know, live a pretty fair, well-rounded lifestyle with it. And so I just want to teach you guys how to do that, because there's a lot of people out there wondering, like,
how do I, balance running with lifting? How do I start even, where do I begin?
And so I don't want you guys to begin where I began. In my first year of doing that, I went from 165 pounds down to 147, lost a ton of muscle, dumbest thing in the world. So the first thing that we'll start out with is running and lifting are kind of like the same thing starting out with, or in other words, you have to implement your running now, kind of like you did lifting into your life, very slowly. When you started lifting, you didn't just go into the gym, working out 5 times a week, with all the volume that maybe you're currently working out with. No, you started maybe like 3 days in the gym until you got consistent, until your body got used and adapted to it. Running has to be the same way. So I suggest starting with maybe a small, simple running plan, and then slowly increase the amount that you're doing every single week by maybe 5-10%, something very small, because again, we want to gradually increase it. We didn't go into the gym one day just benching 315 our second, third week. We want to slowly implement it and make it a part of our regimen and allow our body time to get used to that kind of demand that we're now putting on it. Because if you go into this and all of a sudden you're tacking on 20-30 miles in the beginning of all of this, you're not going to allow your body to adapt, and you're just going to be exhausted all the time. It's going to be the worst thing in the world. You're going to hate your life pretty much, because I remember I never had the energy for anything. I'm going to get into some crazy stuff later in this video when we talk about it. Just know it was a girl I was dating at the time, and I believe I just slowly became unattracted to her because I feel like my test levels were plummeting from how much demand and stress I was putting on my body.
What?
Whole nother story for a different time. We got a workout to hit. We got chest today. I'll put up the workout on the screen for you guys to follow along with. But yeah, pretty crazy stuff. So I understand what I may have said in the beginning of the video might be confusing, or it might just not really guide you guys anywhere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a Google Doc that you guys can follow down in the link in the description. What you guys can do is use that to start off with. So essentially it's gonna be a little running program that every single person can use. And then from there on, that little program, you can continue to build on that, adding 5 to 10% more every single week to that plan. So for example, if the mile plan's got, 1 runs for 1 mile, maybe the next week you do 1.25 miles, right? And so you just build on top of that. So I'm just gonna put down a link in the description again. I'm gonna put a little beginner template of running that everyone can begin to implement into their training. Something just to get you guys started. Obviously, it's not gonna be something that you can use long term, but it will get you up and off your feet. I'm almost done with the chest workout. I'm not recording traps because that just looks so stupid. So we're gonna hurry up, wrap this workout up, get home, and eat something. Wrapping up some meal prep right now. Got some bison patties right here. We got the potatoes in the oven. Everything's getting ready. I don't even know what I was gonna say. Also have some hydrate right here. I've been trying to come down off of coffee after the gym
It's just a horrible thing to do after the gym, especially when you've, you know, used a bunch of salt, sodium, water, and everything, and then just continuing to flush it out of your system with coffee. Super bad on my end. So I was like, all right, I need to, if I'm gonna have something after my workout now, I need to have something that's gonna be beneficial to me. So I started having my hydrate after my workout instead of midday, just because I don't know, I feel like I need something to sip on after my workout now that I've just been so used to drinking coffee. While I was meal prepping, I was thinking of the next thing that I wanted to tell you guys when you're starting to include running into your, you know, lifting training regimen, is that you need to intake more carbohydrates on top of the diet that you are currently eating. And to make this make sense, let's just say right now I'm eating around 2,600 calories, and let's just say that 2,600 calories is like 100 calories over my maintenance, right? Well, if you're gonna start implementing running into your training regimen, you probably need another like 200, 300 calories made up mostly of carbs, a little bit of fat, and a medium amount of protein. And the reason being is because your body, when you work out, relies on glycogen, which is stored in your muscles, your blood, your kidneys, and all of that stuff, and it is used for workouts. And since now you are implementing running into your training regimen, it's gonna require more energy from you on a daily basis, or your body is going to, I should say. In other words, I would just kind of increase your fat a tiny bit, I would increase your protein a medium amount, and then I would increase your carbs the most amount, if that makes sense. That's why you hear a lot of people who, you know, go for a long run, they'll be like, oh, I carbed up the night before, or I carbed up before this run. It's because when you begin running, your body is going to demand that more from you. There's a whole other topic that I will make in another video on how like your body can utilize fat for running instead of carbohydrates. I mean, it always uses carbohydrates, but it can use fat as a primary source. Not gonna get into that in today's video, but you definitely need to be increasing your carbohydrates. I messed up when I was younger and thought that, you know, I could just eat less and then my body could still continue to run, not realizing again what was happening to me. Again, I told you guys, I went from like 165 when I was 18 or 19, dropped all the way down to 147. Felt the worst ever in my life. It was because I didn't have my diet down, I didn't have my training down, and those two things just were super catastrophic to my overall health, my gains, my cardiovascular health, everything. I will say in this video that there's gonna be kind of like a lot of cross references with like how to become a hybrid athlete, because, you know, once you start combining endurance training and some sort of strength training, we're kind of getting on the topic of hybrid training. So that's very similar to this video, if not kind of the same. I'm not going to be covering the same topics, because obviously I'm talking about implementing the running into your training regimen rather than how to hybrid, if that makes sense. Just wanted to clear that up because that will be a future video that I make, and it will be different from this. There are going to be some cross references, so just wanted to kind of clear that up for y'all. All right, today is Sunday, and we have a run. A nice little 5-mile jaunt. Nothing too extreme. I'm not going for a super fast time today. So to kick off where we left off, I was kind of debating on whether I was going to put this in the video because it kind of more sounds like I'm trying to talk on how to get into running, but I kind of am to a degree, because if you're already lifting and you're trying to get into running, that means you're trying to get into running. So that subject and the other subject are obviously going to have like their crossings at some point, so this is one of those points, but I recommend getting a shoe for running. In other words, getting fitted for a shoe. I didn't do that, and when I got into running when I was like 18, 19 years old, I would just go run in whatever shoe I had that I would be like, yeah, that shoe looked good enough to run in. And it did a lot of, I would say, damage to my calves, my ankles, and my knees, because the shoe wasn't properly fitted for me. And you might think to yourself like, oh, you know, that can't make that big of a difference, but it does, because we all have different ways that we run. Some of us are heel strikers, some of us run on our toes, and that makes a huge difference and really start to impact you in your lifts if you're not careful about it. Because if you're running on a shoe that's not good for you, what can happen is you can actually get injured, and if you're injured, obviously you can't train. So definitely find a shoe that's good for you. These are the Saucony Endorphin 2s. They're linked down below in like an Amazon link. So if you guys are interested in these, check them out. But again, I would strongly recommend you guys go to like Fleet Feet or something and actually get fitted for a pair of running shoes. And the next thing we're gonna talk about, even though we're not doing it right now, we're just gonna roll out before we go for our run, is recovery, because that's what we're gonna do after our run. And if you already lift out there, you guys know that the muscle needs to recover in order for you guys to train that muscle again. And the same thing goes for running, except if you run and then sometimes if it's like a long run and you try to go lift or do something else, the next day you guys will be like, dang,
Like my body is fatigued.
and that's because it is. So what I recommend doing is taking at least 2 to 3 days of active recovery during the week to allow your body to recover and allow your central nervous system to recover as well. Because if you never do, you will start to see a decline in both your running performance and your lifting performance. So, you know, those days of active recovery or recovery don't have to be you doing nothing. That's why I use the word active. You know, you can do something light, something that's keeping your body moving, but you want to give yourself more rest than you typically would if you were just doing strictly lifting. Because I feel like for me, I can kind of get away with strictly lifting like 6 times a week, more so 5 now that I've learned more about recovery, but have to take at least 2 days of recovery during the week, especially if you're doing both running and lifting.
So I have decided today that I am going to go for a 3-mile run. Nothing too extreme. I am in a slight bit of pain just from wrestling. So you guys know I took that on this winter season while I'm not really training for anything. It's been a blast, but it has also been a blast on my body, making, I would say, my recovery kind of take a while and stuff. That's why I said, you know, you need at least 2 or 3 days of recovery, especially if you're gonna start implementing cardio and stuff into your training regimen. Yeah, we're not gonna take it too crazy today. Also, peep the beanie. Check this thing out, bro. This thing is fire. KillBuillt, baby. Code Levi equals 10% off. It's my brand for those who don't know. But I'm going to stop talking because we are losing daylight. It might look brighter on the GoPro, but we are probably going to lose all of our daylight in the next 40 minutes. Okay, now I can't remember if this is the last topic I'm covering or not in this video. I'll find out when I look at my notes when I get back. But next thing that you're gonna wanna do is separate your workouts from each other around 6 or more hours. And what I mean by that is separate your lifting workout from your running workout by 6 hours. And the reason you wanna do that is because we have this thing in us called glycogen, and it is what our body uses as a primary fuel source when we work out. It is stored in places like our muscles, our blood, our kidney. If you do a workout and you deplete a good amount of that glycogen, your body the next time around for that workout probably won't perform as well if you do it too close to one another. Does that make sense? So let's just say you lift and then right afterward you go for a run. Well, your body is going to be somewhat depleted of glycogen, and so that run might go terribly or just not as well as it should. So you want to separate those. And that kind of gets into the topic of, should you run first or should you lift first? And I'm going to tell you this isn't part of the video, lifting first, because you want your body to use the glycogen that's in your muscles first for that workout compared to using it for the run first. That is because it'll help you maintain the amount of muscle that you have, because you're able to put more output into the lift or even put on muscle. Yeah, again, a topic I'm not really going to go too much detail into because it's not for this video, but just separate your workouts. Whatever one you do first, it doesn't matter, you know, unless you have a certain goal, then it does matter, which again, I'm not going to talk about in this video. There we go. Miles, 28 minutes, average 9:28. I think sometimes when I stop and talk on the camera, it doesn't record properly because I'm not swaying my arms as much, but who really knows?
Roller that I had earlier, some of you guys might want to know where I got that thing from. I got it off Amazon. I think there might be a link down in the description. I'm not sure though, but this one is the 321 Strong. Just thought I would tell you guys because I was using it earlier in the video. And it turns out we do have one more thing that I need to tell you guys, especially if you're trying to get into running and you already lift. I looked at my notes and I was like, oh dang, I cannot forget this one because some of you guys would hate me, I feel like, if I didn't tell you this one. And it is, do not run and do legs on the same day. If you do that, you will just brutalize your knees. I did that when I was first getting into running and lifting at the same time. Well, I should say when I started to introduce running into my lifting regimen, and my weight and all of my leg lifts just went down so fast. I just felt weak every single time I went to do legs, and it hurt so bad. Like my legs just felt, I can't even like describe. They kind of felt like piddly, like they felt weak too. So don't do it. It's way too much, again, pressure, way too much
Today, Junior.
What word am I trying to use? I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying though. It's just way too much for your legs to take on. So please do not do that. Trust me, you'll save yourself a lot of pain. But that's gonna do it for this video. I hope you guys liked this video. If you guys did, be sure to give it a like. If any of you guys are new here, do not forget to press that subscribe button because you guys know. And as always, guys, trying to do what you love. The sky's the limit. I'll see you all in the next one.